I love this question so much because this is the number one thing I hear from people over and over and over again. Like, I go into Canva, I try to edit the templates, they look horrible. I go into Canva and I try to create a post for social, and I have an idea in my head, and when I try to execute on it, it looks horrendous. I can't get it right. And in the past, I had a very different answer than what I'm going to share with you today, because the truth is social media has changed. And especially with the onset of AI, we have seen a huge, dramatic shift on social media. And so this is really good news for you folks, because it means far less work in Canva to get what it is that we actually want. Like, if we think about what we want, we don't want the perfectly polished post. We want the clients, we want the money, we want the success. So if that's still your goal, then here are 3 things that you can do differently inside of Canva in 2025 to make your post stand out. Are you ready? Get ready to take notes, because these are gold. So the first mistake that I see people make is overly polished content. The kind of content that you head into Canva, you head into their template library, and then you spend hours editing it and you post it to social and it's crickets. And that's because it's overly polished. It almost looks like an ad. So if your posts all look like ads, or you're trying to make them look like ads, and there's, tons of information on them, and they look like something out of a magazine, people tend to scroll on by because they can feel that they're being sold to. And no one goes onto Instagram or Meta or any of those places to be sold to. We might end up buying stuff because that's just how ads work, but we're not there to be sold to. We are craving deeper, more authentic connection more than ever. So, number 1, overly polished content, which brings us to mistake number 2, using too many stock images in your content. In 2025, stock images should be used sparingly. Why? Because we have been inundated with them for far too long. You know what people want now? Especially with service-based businesses, they want to see you. They want to connect with you. If you're afraid to make reels, if you're afraid to show up on camera, that is A-okay. You don't have to jump into the deep end right away if you don't want to. But I would strongly suggest that you stop relying on stock photos and start putting lifestyle photos of yourself. Don't feel like you have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a brand shoot. You can literally just get your partner or friend or somebody that you trust completely and say, hey, here are the 20 shots that I need. Let's go out for an afternoon. You can shoot these for me. And then you have 20 shots of yourself that you can use instead of stock photos. Think to yourself, if you're struggling with what shots to create, one of my tricks is to think of what stock photos I would use or I would gravitate towards, and then try to replicate those, but with me in it. Stock photography, as of 2025, is on its way out, especially when you're a service-based business, because your audience has to feel like they know you before they can trust you, before they're going to want to work with you. So they have to connect with you. The more you show up, the more connection you're going to create. And all it takes is just a few pictures of you doing what you do. That's it. And the last mistake that I see is, oh my gosh, this is like one of my biggest pet peeves. Posts that are educational that you can't read because there's either the text is so small that you can't read it, or there's so much information on one slide that it's like no one is stopping to read that. So we need to hook people within 3 seconds or less. So in 2025, if you're creating educational content, which is totally fine, 3 tips to, or things I would stop doing, or stop doing this, or blah, 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 whatever you want to create is fine. Just make sure that it's big, it's bold, and it speaks directly to a pain point, and you don't put the whole context of it on the slide. Save some for the caption. So 3 things to focus on in 2025: less polished, more real. Number 2, less stock photos, more lifestyle photos. And number 3, please make your headline impactful, make it big, make it bold, make it something that would stop the scroll. And that is it, my friends. The 3 things you can start doing today to make designing for social so much easier in Canva. And as per usual, if you have any questions about starting your creative business, drop them in the comments below. I love to read them and I love to answer them. Speak to you soon.